Hello, everybody. You have come to the Iraq Britain Business Council's Tech Forum. We have quite a lot of people lined up today, so we're just letting everybody load up, etc. So just bear with us a minute while everybody comes on board. I know that it's slightly annoying when you've already started and you can't get on and you're half 3 minutes into the whole conversation, but hopefully we'll just wait a moment if that's all right. Greetings from England today. I think we have people all over the place on our call. Okay, I'm just going to start to talk, if that's okay, and I think people will log in. You have come to the IBBC's Tech Forum. I'm Ashley Goodall, and today we're going to be talking about AI, digital and quantum technologies, how they are reshaping business futures. We should learn a bit about how it's affecting students, employees' skills, entrepreneurs, and how they can navigate the new landscape. Hopefully some of the tools available and the insights of who's responsible for training people. And we're going to hear from AI practitioners and IT specialists already working in Iraq and cutting British edge technology and quantum computing. So we have a number of really high profile speakers today. First is Vipul Narula, who's Chief Executive of Commercis, and he operates autonomous technical platforms in AI in Iraq. And he's going to give us an overview of AI, the threats, the opportunities, and his general view of it. We'll be followed up by Jaffar of Majal, who is one of our members, and going to be talking about e-youth and how they use that to train and match people up for skills. We will then be talking to Jillian Low, who works for virtual internships. She's Chief Strategy Officer, and we'll be hearing about a report they've done on AI and who's responsible for training people. Then it'll be Mohammed Al-Sammarai, who's part of our Iron2 company, and I'm talking about the QAF Lab Enterprises Initiative, which is happening in Iraq. And last but not least, Harriet van der Vlee of Oxford Instruments, who'll be talking to a bit about quantum computing. So it's going to be quite an exciting discussion. We've got people still coming on board. I can see coming in, yes. Just in case you don't know Iraq Britain Business Council, we have been going for 17 years. We have about 80 members, many of whom are corporates, British and Iraqi and international companies. Our objective really is to support the private sector and develop that in Iraq. And at the same time, we also support our members' objectives to ensure that they can do business as well and as effectively as possible through our network. We have a number of events every year. This year was going to be the Mansion House in London, which is why we're doing a lot of online conferences because of the problem with the Gulf. Means that people can't travel that easily to London. However, we do plan to run a big conference in Baghdad in the autumn, and we'll be doing another Mansion House conference in April next year. In between, there are lots of other online events and meetings that we have lined up. So I think people are still logging in. Yes, hold on a moment. Yep, here we go. Just letting them all come on. We've had 93 sign up today, which is a really good amount. Looks like half of them are on board now. So without more ado, I'd very much like to introduce Vipul Narula, who's Chief Executive of Commercis. And Commercis operate in Iraq and internationally, and I think work with some of our clients. So over to you, Vipul. Look forward to hearing what you've got to say.
Thanks so much, Ashley. First of all, I would just like to thank IBBC and Ashley for the invite. My name is Vipul Narula, and I work for Commercis, and I run the technology and the cyber division. And I wear one more hat, which is the head of the revenue office, which lets me get more closer to the customers in Iraq and the wider world. Over the last 3 decades, or 3+ decades, the experience which I have running in working in the technology space, I have worked with telecommunication providers, technology providers, critical infrastructure, digital transformation, and across these estates, which is quite fundamental. And when you start talking about the ecosystem of these, some of these corporates, technology providers, infrastructure providers are in highly regulated and controlled markets, and the others, or which are more mature markets, and the others are in non-mature markets, conflict-driven zones, and mission-critical regions. And Iraq is one of them, which is quite exciting economy, but it's geopolitically in a location where things can happen. And how are we prepared for that? I think my experience has largely ranged from helping organizations, environments, government critical infrastructures to not just understand about connectivity, resiliency, AI, everything, but also understanding it in a different way. The different way is how can we be more vigilant and how can we be more ready when things go wrong? I think that's one of the increasing challenges is how to run your country, your economy, your company through disruption. And I think this is one of the fundamental factors when it comes to how the new technology is shaping up the future of Iraq. We are at a convergence point where we are looking at the geopolitical threats. We are seeing convergence of geopolitical cyber threats. We are looking at physical infrastructure. We are looking at vulnerabilities. We are looking at supply chain threats, and we are looking at an increasingly amount of sophisticated AI threats, which is happening at the back of Gen AI, or we'll go deeper into it as we go through these discussions. But that is where things are fundamentally changing the threat landscape for countries, for economies, and for governments. For the last few years, I have been very close and working with with organizations within Iraq. Over the past years, I've witnessed a massive transformation, evolution in Iraq's engagement on technology. There's a massive investment which is going on in communications, cyber, cloud technologies, artificial intelligence, and now even quantum in the Iraq space. Working within these sectors gives you one of the key fundamental things, which is there is massive potential. There's a massive opportunity for growth. There's a massive opportunity for digitalization of the economy overall. But at the same time, the organizations, there's a challenge which organizations have to face as a result of this digital modernization. And we are talking about threats. We are talking about threats on geopolitical, threat on critical infrastructure. Sort of, again, we have got state actors. We are seeing those on a daily basis. Key challenges, which we will discuss more during the session, would be the key challenges which the Iraq technology ecosystem faces in this emerging technology trend. How important is resiliency, as we talked about in the scope of things? And when I say resiliency, let's talk about Red Sea, which is just on the corner. So all the subsea cables run through the Red Sea. So how are we making sure that Iraq becomes a fundamental way to avoid the Red Sea by taking traffic from east to the west? We provide that. We thought about it 2 years back, and we are now providing capability for companies, for organizations, for countries to take traffic to avoiding the Red Sea. The importance of resilient infrastructure, fundamental. How resilient are we? We keep talking about BCPs and organizations, but when do we start putting BCPs, business continuity process, within countries, so that if things happen, how we can be self-reliant? And Iraq is at that point where it wants to be self-reliant. The role of the cloud, cybersecurity, AI, and emerging technologies. We took 2 years. Commercis took 2 years to work with Google. And earlier this year, we were the second partner, one of the first in the region, in Iraq region, to provide cloud infrastructure capabilities from Google. That's a major step forward. Now, what we intend to do at the back of it is create compute environments, AI-specific environments, data centers within Iraq, which can take cloud, AI, and compute and provide that to not just the government sector, but the surrounding government sectors as well. Preparing the Iraq workforce is another bigger challenge, which we will talk about as we speak about trainings and how we train the youths and how do we make sure that the next generation coming up is savvy, which they are, by the way. And you will talk about that in a minute. I did talk about that Iraq is at the center of this change. It has a tipping point of this change. I'll give you a few reasons why. The new government has been formed, which has come into force May 2026, as you know. There's a new Minister of Telecommunication or Communication. PM mandates that the economy has to reduce dependence on the public sector. More of dependency has to go into the private sector. So there has been a cultural fundamental shift in making sure that the private sector is elevated enough, because we have got a massive young youth and increasingly tech-savvy population in Iraq. And I will again give you an example, because we can keep talking about it, but until we validate that this pretty much ties in with what we are seeing in the market. Earlier this year, we launched a platform, our gaming platform in Iraq, which is called SimSim platform. Please explore it. Within 1 week, 5,000 young youths registered to the platform. They are using the platform within the first week. So you can understand that it's increasingly using every cloud service, gaming platform, CDN providers, and everything which we're providing at the back of making sure that the technology, the young youth are being digitalized and they have got something in their hand. There's a growing demand for digital services. We are expanding mobile and internet connectivity across Iraq. Iraq is extremely big. We have got 4 offices in Iraq, pretty big, 200 staff within Iraq to provide services, right from Erbil, Baghdad, Basra. But if you look at the landscape, it's huge. We are providing services to oil and gas companies, which are quite remote in the desert. So how do we provide that capability? Connectivity becomes quite fundamental. The government has quite an ambition plan in Iraq to start growing and modernizing and giving incentives to the youth. There's an increasing demand for AI and advanced technologies in Iraq. Now, this is always exciting. I think, I guess the tech adoption is not just enough. You can talk about adoption a lot, and we'll be going more into it, that, oh, we are getting technologies. But the bigger challenge is what is the success factor? What is the outcome? Because everyone wants an outcome. Okay, I'm adopting these technologies. What's the outcome? The outcome or the success factor is driven by few fundamental things. One is resilient connectivity. We know that 95% of the world traffic goes through subsea cables. People are connected. They have got IoT devices, OT devices. Everything is connected. You go on an oil field today, you will see there's a mixture of IT, OT, and network estate. And we are talking about a small oil and gas field, and we are talking about almost 10 to 15,000 IT, OT, and network devices all connected. Thousands of Wi-Fi routers basically connected, IoT devices, OT. So we're talking about resilient connectivity. How can we be resilient? The other success factor assigned to adoption of this is secure infrastructure. How are we making sure that the infrastructure is secure by giving security, not as an add-on to the service, but as a fabric to the communication, fabric to the network. Network is the key console. If you don't have network, nothing can happen. Trust me. Network becomes the primary source of any connectivity. But how are we making sure that network is secure by design? Skilled talent, I just touched base on skilled talent, but there's more to it. Not just the existing, new, excited, tech-savvy population, the youth, but also the existing government officials, existing government sector, existing private sector who are not that tech-savvy, who need to be trained. So you're going to learn a lot from Faye and others on understanding how the training and how we are enabling the youth to making sure that, and existing people, that they understand technology, they embrace it. They don't treat it like defense and, oh my God, I don't want to adopt to it. Because take it or leave it, AI is there to be there. Take it or leave it, cyber threats will be there. Okay, how much secure we are, AI, though as an enabler for us as protectors to enable and protect our customers faster, it's also enabling the threat actors to start using AI in an automated way. Today, if people know that earlier in the days, you took almost 3 to 4 days or even weeks or months to identify a threat and then plan for it. Today, it takes less than 6 minutes, if I would say 6 minutes, to infiltrate a network, get into a network, identify the critical assets, which is your data, and then move on into sort of encrypting it. So the threat landscape has changed. It has moved faster, and now it is much faster, and due to AI. Trustworthy data management is another success factor for countries. We are looking at data silos. We are looking at data sovereignty. We are looking at making sure that the data, which is the critical asset, is within the country. That's the asset of the country. We don't want our asset, which is the critical data, to go outside the country. You would be surprised to know that when you're talking about oil and gas fields within Basra, you can't even take data out of the field. You have to have data centers on the ground. You have to have people on the ground. You have to have backup dependency solutions within, forget about within Iraq or within Basra. You can't even move that to Baghdad or within Basra and any other location. So this, again, think about the consequences of this happening. What happens if the data gets lost? What happens if there's a drone attack? What happens? And we are seeing that now because of the geopolitical issues, and we are on the ground. We are helping our customers to physically go in the data center in Basra, take the backups, and put it on the cloud to protect the assets within Iraq. So things are changing. People are embracing technology. They're not just saying, because they are faced with consequences of what would happen if this takes place, which comes back to BCP planning. And I think the long-term sustainability is fundamental. Whatever decisions are being made today, we want to make sure that those decisions are being replicated for the future and they are being derived in the right context. And again, we can keep going on a lot of areas around threats, cyber, AI augmentation, security by design, the quantum, which is quite an exciting place to be. We have launched the quantum encryption within Iraq, and we'll learn more about quantum and how chips are made, and not just chips, but how the infrastructure is made by the team Harriet. But it's all exciting news, and we'll talk more about it. So please keep the questions coming. And with that said, I would hand it over to Jay, I believe. Faye, sorry.
Thank you. Vipul, thank you so much. That was a wonderful example of the threats and opportunities all at the same time. And I think it's about resilience. It's about security, getting the network up to speed. It's about getting the skilled people that can operate it and being aware of the threats. And obviously you have a lot of solutions to that. Just quickly, I mean, there does feel like there's a lot of threats out there at the moment. But just to put more of an upside to it, I mean, can you give a slightly more positive complexion as well, that what the benefits are going to be?
The benefits are immense. Right now, we are using, and I did talk about AI versus AI, and it's quite an exciting area where we are talking about how AI can be used against AI to make sure that we can identify threats, we can identify anomalies, we can identify signatures. Every threat actor has a certain signature attached to it. But how can we make sure that we can identify those signatures and implement it for all the customers? Now, one of the exciting concepts which we are working with the government sector right now within Iraq is something called SOC of all SOCs, right? What does that mean? It means that as a center, the government funds a center SOC, where it collaborates and works with all the partners, government, private sector, public sector, every part of the organizations, to identify the threats and vulnerabilities, and can impact and influence those decision making faster. So imagine UK, if everyone knows, last year we had some attacks, or earlier this year or early last year, we had M&S, followed by Co-op, followed by Harrods, and followed by many others. Now, imagine a situation where we could have stopped the first attack. We could have had the first attack. Sometimes it's unavoidable. As I said, the question is not about how to avoid attacks. That will always happen. But how to react when things happen. How to make sure that your business keeps running when it happens. What would be the case when the center of all SOCs could identify the issue and could have just broadcasted the threat across to all the global companies, all the partners, all the public and private sectors? So it would have stopped at the source. It wouldn't have gone through Co-op. It wouldn't have rippled onto others. Why? Because there is a centralized ecosystem. There's a centralized compliance. There's a centralized framework. And I think Iraq is at that place where they are looking into these things. They are actively discussing. They are actively asking questions, and they are actively implementing these changes within the country so that it can affect every single part. Government sector, banking sector, the private sector, oil and gas specifically, because that is bread and butter. But now the government is changing, is thinking alongside, is thinking about moving to the more to private sector. And as you start moving into private sector, it changes the economy, because now there's less control, you can see. So how do we bring more control and make sure that everybody follows the same framework, NIST framework, or whichever framework is being consumed right now? But that is fundamentally the ask, and that is what's changing actually right now with the impact of AI and AI versus AI, more cybersecurity, more connectivity-based solutions which are secure by design. And that is what comes from Commercis. That's what we provide to customers. But I think this is much bigger than all of us. This is about a country which is at the verge of digital transformation. We have seen a lot of these countries go through that phase where they transform from basic industrial zones to public sector, and then slowly start moving into private sector and giving more autonomy, more control to that sector. But I keep saying that with the great, I think great responsibilities come when you're great. It's and that's important.
Thank you, Vipul.
Responsibilities come with authority and with the right framework that you approach. So
yes,
I hope that's a long-winded answer, but that's pretty much a lot of things that are going
on the verge of digital transformation. I really like that one. Thank you very much. If we can move on now to, thank you very much, Vipul. We might come back later. Faye Jaffar, who's the director of Majal. And Faye, I think you're going to take us through your e-youth platform and explain how that can benefit everybody.
Thank you, Ashley, and thanks to the IBBC team for arranging a great session for us today. As Ashley mentioned, my name is Faye Jaffar. I work for Al-Majal Group. We are a multifaceted Iraqi company. We offer a number of solutions within and outside of the energy sector in Iraq, from oil field services, repair and maintenance of equipment, accommodation, life support, logistics, and manpower solutions. I'm responsible mainly for our manpower and human resource business, which means I'm not a digital or AI expert. We have other people on the call who are able to speak to that far more fluently than I am, but I do have a good insight into the labour market and some of the challenges that young professionals in Iraq face today. We've touched on a bit of the context, but we do have an issue of youth unemployment and workforce readiness. We have young people who are educated, plenty of them, but transitioning from academia to the real world and securing jobs, there seems to be a mismatch between those skills. And we also have at the same time, pressure from governments, NGOs, private sector, of course, to hire local talent and improve our local workforce. Part of that, of course, the reason we're talking today is the digital transformation that Vipul spoke to just now. So what's come off the back of that for us is a partnership with eYouth, which is an established service in the region already. We've now set up, or in the process really of launching, a joint venture to answer some of these challenges. And this comes from a desire as well as an obligation to develop our Iraqi human capital and the quality of our workforce. So just I'll explain briefly what is eYouth. It's a digital learning and workforce development platform. It aims at supporting, as I mentioned, graduates, young professionals through institutions and big corporates. Anyone really who has the desire to develop their workforce, with the main aim of filling that gap that exists between studying and securing your diplomas, your exams, and then actually having the practical skills and knowledge to seamlessly move into the workplace. Mm-hmm. There are, of course, a number of ways that you can look at achieving this and filling that gap, addressing the gap. But we require modern techniques, as has been discussed already. Iraq, I'd like to think, is on the brink of a digital transformation. So we're not talking about traditional learning routes and mechanisms here. We need something digital, something that allows ease of access wherever you might be. Something I always think about, if you've experienced the traffic in Baghdad, having some kind of the ability to access these platforms remotely or at convenient times without having to battle those kind of infrastructure problems is obviously a great thing. We also want to, aside, you know, reaching people far and wide, increase digital literacy. Of course, we have a young population who, for the most part, are pretty digitally literate, but by using these platforms and these kind of solutions will of course increase that, which is only going to be a good thing. One of the key aspects of the EU partnership as well is that this has to be based on real demands from the labor market, not just ideas in abstract. And actually the AI component of this, which, as I said, I'm not exactly too expert on the AI subject, but in our ability via EU to use that skill, let's say, or that the AI component allows for heavy personalization to the individual, but also huge power to analyze the market and gather information in order to inform the different solutions, the different programs and courses that are on offer. So they are really tailored to what is missing and what will really be useful out in the workplace. Ashley and I were talking about who are we targeting as well. So I'll just run through that. I'd say that the target clients are quite broad. This is an application that can be used far and wide, and with that personalization aspect, it can be really malleable to a corporation's demands or ideas for training, whatever they might be. So certainly looking at large corporates across all sectors, and there is an ability to formulate, as I said, bespoke programs for them. Government and public sector, of course, and NGOs, international organizations, whether they're looking at kind of youth development or specific sections of society that may have had more of a difficult time reaching education and resources. And then our educational institutions as well. So looking at this as a supplement for universities, whether that's also vocational training centers and any kind of educational setup or foundation that can use this as a digital add-on to what they currently offer. So yeah, really, we're in the early days of this partnership and launching, but I hope that we see more of these partnerships to come in answer to the problem that exists, the youth unemployment, and how do we mobilize and help our workforce, which has so much potential and clearly a heavy desire to get into the workplace and contribute. How do we actually help them do that in a very modern and digital way that sets them up really well?
Hey, that's absolutely fantastic. Can I just obviously say this isn't confined to Iraq, is it? This is something globally we could use, and something that could be used in the UK, quite frankly.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is that this is a model that really anywhere, as you said, could benefit from, and I'm sure there are other companies doing a similar thing, and that's great elsewhere. This is EU has operates across, I believe it's 21 countries currently, where we've got learners already enrolled. There's around, the latest figures that I was reading, for about 4 million learners, we call them. So yeah, it can definitely be utilized outside of Iraq. I think it's a really interesting application for Iraq, given the various challenges that exist, but certainly further.
And the other thing, Faye, is of course we have quite a lot of IBBC members actually signed up today listening to you, so they could possibly get in touch for their purposes. And on top of that, we also have the education online day, I think on the 20th of June. So this goes right across different areas and sectors. And thank you very much indeed for that. It's quite a significant. We'll be hearing more about it, I think, won't we?
Sure, anytime. And yeah, very happy to speak to anyone who has an interest.
Thank you very much, Faye. That's great. I'd like to move on now to Jillian Low. We're on the same sort of route here. Jillian Low is Chief Strategy Officer for Virtual Internships. and they have done a report on who's responsible for training students in AI. And I think it's quite broad, this. So Jillian, I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Over to you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me. A lot of what I'll say does resonate with what Faye just presented, but I'll start with who virtual internships is as quickly as possible. So virtual internships partners directly with universities to guarantee every learner a remote internship with a global company. Remote, so geography and that Baghdad traffic that Faye alluded to isn't a barrier. Guaranteed, so every learner a university enrolls gets matched. And globally, so a learner in Iraq could and can intern with a company in England, Singapore, or Australia. So far, we've placed over 15,000 learners, and 1 in 3 of our learners end the internship with a continued opportunity from the company that hosted them so that we can create those work development pathways. And in this distinguished and diverse panel today, I am not the AI expert, but I am lucky to complement the narrative with the research we did on AI and internships. Given the model that I just explained, we were really well positioned to look directly at what was happening from both the learner and the company view on entry-level talent, hiring, and internships. And so through surveys and interviews, we were able to draw some interesting conclusions about what was now the common conversation in every news article, right? Internships, entry-level hiring, and how AI was impacting them both. And overall, our research was published over 3 distinct reports. We called them the Future Ready Talent Series, and each report did cover a little bit of a different piece of the puzzle. But key data that we really found was that first, employers are not discouraging AI use in internships or entry-level work. In fact, 0% of our supervisors found that we've interviewed found that research discouraged learners from using AI. And in fact, 88% of our supervisors actively encourage their interns to use it. But at the same time, almost none provided onboarding or guidance on how to use it well. And this isn't just an internship problem. KPMG ran a global study on AI training inside workplaces and found that only 39% of people globally have any AI training at all. Second, when we asked both the learners and supervisors, what skills matter the most for an AI-enabled future employee, both groups ranked durable skills, when we're talking about communication, critical thinking, problem solving, collaboration, first, and they ranked AI skills last. This was backed up recent by US research from Strata Education Foundation, who recently surveyed 1,500 employers and found the same exact pattern. Critical thinking and communication was first, and AI skills dead last out of 8 distinct skills for entry-level hiring. The third that we found was that when we asked universities, employers, and students qualitatively who should prepare early career professionals for AI, everyone said the same thing. It's a shared responsibility. All hands on deck. We all need to step up. But then I gave them a survey and I forced them to rank it. Who is the most responsible for training entry-level talent for an AI-enabled workplace? And when we forced them to rank, interns ranked universities in first, and employers ranked the individual first. And both groups ranked employers dead last. In fact, 63% of interns and 68% of companies said employers bear the least amount of responsibility for AI training. The employers who benefit the most from an AI-ready talent rank themselves last in line to build it. And in our report, we called this the responsibility void. Essentially, learners are waiting for universities to teach them. Universities are struggling to keep pace with AI that updates weekly, and employers are waiting for graduates to arrive pre-trained and ready for AI. And so what this means for the future, in my opinion, is 2 things. 1, we need to make job-ready graduates, not just AI-ready ones. Employers don't want learners who can use ChatGPT. They want learners who can use AI and think critically, communicate, stay curious, and solve problems they haven't seen before. And the training has to identify, articulate, and assess both AI fluency and literacy and the durable skills that carry it forward. And second, we really need to take ownership of AI training in the workplace. And we might need to do that at the education level, not because universities are the only answer, but because someone has to break the standoff of everyone expecting someone else to train. And the institution closest to the learner might have the ability of that first mover advantage and support as we have all these young graduates enter the workforce for the first time and employers look for the AI skills. So for us at Virtual Internships, we believe that building durable skills, building proof of experience, and giving learners AI training that keeps pace with technology, these really aren't three separate problems with three separate fixes. They are essentially one problem with one place to solve it. And that's where work-based learning comes in. Because AI is already happening where work happens. You are all using AI today to do some great thing with it. And it is being used in the workplaces and evolving faster than any classroom or curriculum can hold. And so if we want learners to develop AI judgment alongside the durable skills employers are actually hiring for, well, we have to put them where AI is actually being used. Real projects, real supervisors, real evidence of what they can do. And we believe that the future of training is not just a course, it's the work itself, bringing together companies who offer these opportunities and mentorship, educators who create the space for it, and learners who grow from it. And that can be the difference between a country that builds a workforce in the AI and one that remains stagnant. Thank you.
Jillian, that could not have been more clear. And we're looking at a sort of early universe of AI here where no one's quite joined up the dots. But one of my particular interests is, I think that all people going to university now should be doing an AI course and part of their course, because in 3 or 4 years, it's going to be a sort of given, isn't it? They're expecting that. Are you finding that to be the case?
I'm finding that we are at risk of separating AI as a separate entity, right? And everything I do, I communicate with AI. I'm problem solving with AI. I'm building tools. And so ultimately, universities need to look at their full curriculum, and many, many have. I'm not saying they haven't. And they need to figure out how can they identify natural places to embed AI in the growth, not keep it separate or always a separate course, but and do that. And articulate each and every course that uses AI or has application for AI so learners can identify it. But if universities are spending all this time redoing their curriculum to keep up pace with AI, they best also look at the durable skills, because that is what's forgotten. A lot of times we teach a course, but we don't actually tell the learner the competencies or skills that they gained from the course. And so if we're going to redo the curriculum and identify all the places AI comes in, we should also identify all the places critical thinking comes in and all the places communication has come in and developed and more. If we marry those two things together, we have a learner who can articulate the skills that they own, can prove the skills that they have because they were able to give a project, work in someplace, or work in a company, do an internship, and come out ahead of someone else who just has this AI created resume that all looks the same. So differentiation will come from AI literacy plus the durable skills. And that comes from not a redo of the curriculum, but a re-identification of what the outputs of the curriculum is.
Thank you very much, Jillian. That's really excellent and very interesting. We have probably quite a lot of members online, and I guess if they need to be in touch with you to look for interns, then they could probably contact us or me, and we can then introduce them to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think also in the chat is the report that you put out as well, which is also available. Not last actually. Now we're moving on to Mohammed Al-Sammarai, who works with IN2, one of our members. And Mohammed's going to be talking about incubators and the QAF Lab Enterprise Initiative that he has, which is taking place in Iraq as we speak. So, Mohammed, are you with us?
I am here. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can't see you. Just where are you?
I'm on page 4 or 5. I don't know.
Okay.
I can see myself
hello.
on page 1.
Yeah.
Go. Thank you very much, Ashley, and thanks to everyone who's here, and special thanks to IBBC for arranging this one. It was quite a challenge, Ashley, since we spoke on Monday that I have to compress everything in 3 minutes, and trust me, I tried my best, so I'll keep that promise. Hi everyone, my name is Mohammed Al-Sammarai, based in Erbil. I'm coming here today wearing 2 hats. I've been working with IN2, which is Innovation and Insight, for over 10 years now, and I'm the Iraq country manager. IN2 is an international research-led communications company. And like every other company, we are integrating innovation and AI on multiple fronts, from internal management to project delivery and everything in between. All of these efforts is to deploy AI and innovation at the edge to keep us a step ahead of the competition. The second hat I'm wearing today is just over 6 years ago now, I co-founded QAF Lab, QAF Lab, which is what I want to talk about today because I think it represents something very important, hopefully to the future of the Iraqi private sector. We founded QAF Lab to fill a gap after the liberation of Mosul in 2017, and this is where it's based right now. This is where the headquarters is. We define QAF Lab as 2 things mainly. One is an innovation hub and a business incubator. On the innovation hub side, it has multiple teams specialized in multiple sectors, but most notably is the tech and VR. And this is where we bring everyone from fresh graduates and interns to experts with over a decade of experience. However, QAF Lab grew in the first couple of years to become something more, which is a business incubator for Iraqi founders. Our current portfolio, after 4 years of investing, it has 10 businesses incubated and invested in. And those businesses spans everything from a small 3D prototyping workshop to what is now one of the most technologically advanced farms in the entire region, which is a multi-million-dollar agri-tech businesses. That combination of innovation, capability, plus the incubation is what makes QAF Lab unusual, to us at least, and it's what made us the right tech partners for IN2. And together with IN2, we've built multiple things over the years. And I'm going to mention 3 things very quickly. We've built a state-of-the-art social media listening and data analysis tools and platforms. And these tools have helped IN2 track social media campaigns across multiple platforms. And it helped IN2 to mainstream about 70% of the workload to manage its production and the creative teams. We've also developed very recently a tool called OmniCat, which is an AI-powered sentiment analysis tool that helps IN2 clients understand not just what people are saying, but what the general narrative is. And on the VR front, we have a VR team specialized in producing VR experiences, 360 videos, etc., and we specialize in cultural heritage. And so far, we have produced with IN2 over 20 immersive experiences for cultural heritage preservation across Iraq and the region. Work, to be honest, that has put Iraq heritage in front of global audiences in a way that wasn't simply possible before. And we have also developed a VR experience to support the government of Iraq at COP28 about 5 years ago or something. What ties all of this together, to be honest, is a belief that Iraq's youth-led private sector has the potential to become a main pillar of the national economy. We know that the talent is there. We know that ideas are there. What's still needed, in our view, is a stronger pipeline, more support to the entrepreneurs who are building things from the ground up. And what I want to leave here with today is that Iraq doesn't just need investment in its physical infrastructure or oil, it needs investments in its innovators as well.
Mohammed, thank you very much. Really interesting. What I would like to ask is, what would you ask of the audience listening in? You talked about supporting the talent. What's the nature of that, and what would be helpful practically for you?
So we know, for example, there are multiple companies who have their own programs to support the youth or support the pipeline or support them in whatever way possible. I would love, to be honest, to see these efforts coordinated more. I would love to see these efforts going into the places that they need to go. For example, we know in the entrepreneurial scene across Iraq, we have multiple problems that, yes, we probably cannot solve because it's on a government level, but there are lots of things when it comes to access to finance and when it comes to multiple issues that have been, for example, mentioned by Jillian as well, when it comes to training people and getting these task force ready for the market.
Okay, thank you. And also the companies, I did an incubator about 15 years ago. And what was interesting was when they could vertically integrate with companies in sectors, that gave them a big lift and support and the mentorship of that. Is that something of interest? So people might want to integrate, for example, almost outsource innovation through the entrepreneurs for people in particular sectors like agri-tech or communications or whatever it is.
100%. We're currently doing that with multiple companies in the States, in Canada, when it comes to the tech talent. And they start coming to us just like they were going to other places in Asia, because we are talented and still we are cheaper than talents in the States, for example. We are working with multiple universities in Italy and Germany as well on the the agri-tech businesses as well. And yeah, we partner with lots of organizations to outsource innovation and talent to them.
So you're open for business, you're open for people to approach you. Again, equally, maybe you could put something in the chat, and for
100%.
people interested, there's information in the chat on virtual internships and various other things. So Mohammed, please put your IN2 CAF Lab contact in there for people that might be interested to involve you and mentor. Interestingly, I guess, just coming back to Vipul, in terms of, mentoring, is that something Commercis, would you look and have incubators in Iraq to help people?
Oh, yes, absolutely. In fact, we have quite a few buildings in Iraq, big offices, and all of our offices have, even in Baghdad and Erbil and Basra, we have got a training platform. We have got a training space. In Baghdad, we have got around 50 to 75 people space where we are training the youth, the government organizations, the private sector, anyone who needs to understand about technology more, about AI more, about cybersecurity more, about communication, satellite, LEO, GEO, MEO. That's our bread and butter. But we enable them to understand technology and then ask those valid questions as they start embracing this. There are a lot of RFPs coming from the government, and you'd be surprised to know that people who are writing RFPs are pretty much maybe using ChatGPT for writing them. But it's important to educate them. Then when they start getting responses, they understand what are we talking about. It's not just the small technical teams who need to take care of it. There's a whole unit. So we are not only training people on the ground. We have got our training camps. We have got a virtual training platform, but we are enabling them. So yes, it's exciting to harness these capabilities across the board with multiple teams on these calls. We are happy to be part of it. We also run our AI-enabled platforms within Iraq to support companies and corporations. Again, that's an enabler. Within UK and within our offices in Germany, US, Dubai, we also provide internship. So again, something which we would work closely with Jillian and Faye to understand how we can provide more interns in our teams who can further go out and start working across different sectors. I'm really happy to tell you that in the last 2 years, we have already trained almost 20 to 30 interns in UK, in Germany, and in Iraq. And most of the trainees who we trained in UK and Germany, they have moved back to Iraq and taken those learnings and worked on new, and are right now working on new and exciting products and capabilities. That's the fundamental difference, is how do you educate them actually working on these rather than working in silos. That's the benefit of working across cross-pollinated divisions.
Thank you, Vipul. I'm delighted that the speakers here are actually starting to collaborate with each other, which is a wonderful thing. And thank you for that input, Vipul, and VI and everything else. Now, last but not least, we're coming back to Oxford and to Harriet van der Vlee from Oxford Instruments, who's going to talk to us about quantum computing, which Vipul referred to earlier, but I think Harriet's got a slightly broad view on it. Harriet, love to hear what you've got to say to us.
Yeah, hi, thank you, Ashley, and what great conversation so far. Thanks, everyone. So I'm Dr. Harriet van der Vlee, and I'm from a company called Oxford Instruments, and we make a lot of different scientific technology and tools for research and industry. Within the quantum space, I sit on a number of committees, whether this be Institute of Physics, Institute of Engineering and Technology, and UK Quantum, the voice of the UK's quantum industry. Quantum, you will have heard that word probably a lot in the news more recently, because a lot of funding is coming this way. But a lot of people will think of quantum as just being quantum computing. We use AI a lot in our daily lives. You'll hear a lot about, you've been hearing a lot about this. Quantum is a little bit further away, but we have the same issues. We have errors, we have hype around it. Now, quantum computing is the one that people think about a lot. How can we use it to do computational problems that we can't do currently? How do we train people to be quantum ready? How do we train the quantum workforce? There are also other things in quantum that are already being used. A lot of you will have had an MRI scan. That is a quantum technology. There are lots of things in your daily lives that already rely on quantum mechanics. The world is not classical. So when I say quantum technologies, I'm referring to technology that relies on classical quantum physics, not classical physics. So there's a very difficult concept to get your head around, and it involves tiny particles behaving in very strange ways, but it opens up an entirely new world of computing, sensing and communications. This year, we've kind of seen a lot of IPOs, companies go to SPAC, mergers, and some of the largest funding rounds for startups in science and technology that we've ever had. Most recently, Oxford Quantum Circuits this week closed their Series C funding with $350 million backed by venture capital. So there is a lot of funding. The governments across the world have put more than 50 billion into quantum. There's a lot of stuff I could say. I don't know, Ashley, if you want to probe anything more.
I think it'd be useful to, I mean, this is the world coming. We're talking about AI, but actually, if you put the two together, does that make a even more extraordinary exponential power? And, you know, in practical terms, what are companies got to watch out for with this?
So quantum and AI, there are people working and research on developing specialized AI models which could improve quantum circuit performance, and also investigations on how these quantum enhanced AI models could accelerate the discovery of novel algorithms, which is what we need. We need use cases, we need these things for quantum. And the problems that it can kind of help with are drugs discovery, climate modeling, things that we cannot do on today's classical compute or even the biggest supercomputers. It won't replace classical AI systems that we have now. But it could accelerate specific AI bottlenecks, maybe with certain optimization problems or sampling tasks. So things like that.
Okay, so it's a sort of a speedy. I think Vipul's got a point to make. Vipul, you coming back on this?
Yes, and again, I'll just sort of back. I think there was a question in the Q&A about why quantum, why Iraq needs quantum. I think that question probably is valid for every single country on the planet right now. Why do we need quantum? Quantum, as Harriet said, is not one piece. It expands into every single element. Quantum has to be understood. What we are doing in quantum right now is we are providing quantum cryptography. Now, what that means is encryption layer on the existing encryption. We know that the existing encryption standards are good, are reliable, but they won't be reliable when we have higher compute power, higher quantum power, basically. So why do we say quantum secure cryptography? Because that means we can put KQD or QKD at the top of the existing encryption standards. Now you can ask, we don't need that in Iraq. Do you have data in Iraq? Yes, we have data. Do we have critical data in Iraq? Yes, we have got critical data. Is it secure? Yes, it's secure. It's encrypted based on the existing standards. How many years would it take for companies to decrypt it? Maybe years. But when they have the data with them, which is if they have highlighted the data, now hackers, what they're doing is they are securing that data. They're keeping with them. They're not exposing it to the market and saying, listen, I want ransomware, because they can't do anything with that data. It is encrypted. But when we start putting quantum encryption and ability to decrypt that, that is the damage, which would come in 3 to 5 years. So right now we have a bigger data source which is capable of decrypting, and today's encryption standards are not feasible. And this is where you put an additional layer of security for future proofing and making sure that your reliability is there. So quantum is much bigger than what we're seeing it. And within the next 10 years, I think every single vertical, every single market will have quantum as one of the key leading areas. We will start talking about quantum security, quantum, putting guardrails on quantum, like we're talking about putting guardrails on AI. Again, different topic. It might take another few hours to discuss that, but it's quite fundamental. So what Harriet's point is fundamentally right.
There's something that somebody brought up in the chat as well, which is related. So there are already quantum sensors which are being used in the oil and gas industry, for example. So where you can't see through the floor, how do you map what's underneath the floor? Well, using quantum sensors or gravity sensors or things such as this. And these all are part of the quantum technologies ecosystem.
Thank you very much indeed, Harriet. Very interesting. A glimpse of the future that is with us now. I think I'm not taking any questions, I'm afraid, but there's a lot of information in chat in terms of information on craft labs, on VI, etc. And we have reached our time. I'd really like to thank a fantastic panel for their insights. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. I'd like to thank Faye Jaffar of Majal, Jillian Low of Virtual Internships, Vipul Narula, Chief Executive of Commercis, who's given us a particularly big insight, Mohammed Al-Sammarai of IN2 and CAF Labs, and Harriet van der Vlee of Oxford Instruments. Thank you all very much. This will be available as a recording, and anyone that didn't make it will receive it, and indeed it will go out through our newsletter. So thank you all very much indeed, and appreciate you all, and see you at the next one. Thank you.